that in the regular season, he's up there with the greatest pitchers of all time.
Greeny with Mike Greenberg. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Plus, you can watch and listen on the ESPN app.
Coming to you live from the Superbook Sports Studios in Kettering. You're listening to Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Everybody, welcome in. Kinner and Kev live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. Mr. Kev Nash, welcome.
What up, though?
Off and rolling here on a Thursday. Today feels like a Monday. Not really sure why. No idea why it feels like a Monday, but I was off yesterday, technically.
Oh, that's okay. That makes sense.
You were working.
You loser.
You loser. I was out golfing yesterday.
You deserve it.
When the Reds are on, I take advantage of that.
You should.
I'm a big
you
Reds
should.
fan. I don't even know what the score was yesterday. That's a joke. Ron had to remind me of what the score was. That's for sure. The Rays dominating the Reds in games 2 and 3. The Reds take game one like 8-1. Hunter Green leaves the game a couple innings in with a liner off his shin or whatever it was. Bottom line is they had no business winning that game, but the Reds at the very end, remember when that series started, I said the Reds just need to get a game. Don't care how they do it, just get a game. The problem is I want to feel good about at least getting one against the Rays and not getting swept, but it's the way they lost games 2 and 3 that was just brutal. It wasn't just the fact that starting pitching was bad, but the Reds couldn't hit the dang ball or they couldn't produce runs. I hope that's not a sign of things to come. I think it's just that's how good the Rays are, but we'll talk about that coming up later on in the show. A little NFL draft talk just because it's more about the drama side of the draft than it is anything else. As we've talked about, I'm over the draft. I'm tired of the draft. And when I think a lot of media outlets are, and when that happens, Kev, stuff like what we're about to talk about ends up erupting. Now, I don't know about you, your opinion, like Brady Quinn. When I say Brady Quinn, what comes to your, like anything, like favorite, not favorite, just kind of
Notre Dame, probably the best Notre Dame quarterback next to Tony Rice I've ever seen.
So, and I didn't really have an opinion about him. Obviously, former Browns quarterback, all that stuff. Does the Fox pregame show with Urban Meyer and company on the college side or whatever. But he had an opinion recently about CJ Stroud when it comes to this upcoming NFL draft. And right now, things turned very quickly, Kev. The Panthers got that number 1 overall pick. They gave up a lot of draft assets to move up. And for a bit, it seemed as if they didn't have a plan for it. And everyone was like, that's kind of weird. You don't give up that much inventory if you don't have a plan already in place. And then it seemed that plan was CJ Stroud. And then within a snap of a finger and within the last, I'd say 7 days to a week, all of a sudden CJ Stroud's chopped liver, man. It's all about Bryce Young. And everyone has their thoughts and opinions of what exactly it is about CJ Stroud, the not a good teammate, not a good, he's not coachable, all the same BS stuff that you hear for a lot of quarterbacks with no tangible evidence.
Right.
You have the most important piece to the puzzle coming out saying that that's BS, and that's the head coach and Ryan Day. I think, I loved Ryan Day's quote. If there's anyone out there who knows whether he's coachable or not, it would be me, his coach.
Not only the head coach, but the offensive
Yes.
coordinator, the play caller. Yeah, okay.
So there's that. But so I asked about Brady Quinn because Brady Quinn made a comment on a podcast that really, he just got destroyed on social media. Ryan Clark of ESPN, RG3, a lot of, the Buckeye Twitter just let him have it. Luckily his blue check mark was taken away so he can kind of hide a little bit. Now you see that Elon Musk just wiped out the blue checks.
Good. Get rid of them. Get rid of all the blue checks because guess what?
Yeah.
You know what? Nobody should have to pay for a blue check. I hope Twitter goes bankrupt.
So I was finally on the verge of getting a blue check before they started doing the pay for it all stuff. Like it finally said my stuff was checked off on enough boxes to get one. And then it put a hold on it because they were about to change it. I was like, I was finally verifiable and you guys are going to do this. Dude, this was the coolest I've been.
How much is a blue check mark?
Last I checked, it was $8. Not doing that. I think that's toolish if you do. I don't know. Maybe you should check. You're not blue check.
No,
right?
I'm not. And I'm not. There's a lot of people out there that are blue check. Quick story. This show that I watched called Snowfall had a series finale last night. So, as I'm winding down from a 90-minute episode of the series finale, great way to wrap up the show. I just jump on Twitter real quick to see like what the cast is talking about and everything like that. And then I just noticed everybody has a blue check mark. Everybody that's talking about the show has a blue check mark because I'm not like on Twitter, like reading a lot of stuff. I go on there, make my tweets and go vanish for a couple days and come back. So everybody has a blue check mark now. So people are paying $9 for a blue check mark. What do you get out of having a blue check mark? Like you don't get anything.
Look, it was a good
status.
It was a good business model at first because everyone was playing off of how cool it was. But now, like Kendrick Perkins, literally as we're talking about this, I didn't even see this, but he just said they took my blue check. He goes, they can keep that MF because I refuse to pay to be famous. Carry the hell on. I love Kendrick Perkins.
Because like, guess what? He already is famous.
So, yeah.
LeBron James really needs to pay for your blue check mark.
You know what I compared to? You weren't in a frat, were you?
No, I was not.
It's digital fraternizing. When you pay to be cool, when you pay for friends, when you pay, it's like a frat. It's a social media frat is what the blue check mark is now. Oh, don't worry, frat people. I'm not judging you too much. I'm just mad because I couldn't afford my friends like you. That's all. But so no, with all that being said, Brady Quinn got attacked on social media because of these comments. And now I can't tell if these are fair or foul. Foul because we don't like what's being said about our guy, CJ Stroud, but who's right, who's wrong in this situation? We've talked about the power that these analysts have, Kev, especially in these major network, outlets. What they say carries weight, and whether we want to believe, we would like to think that the front office personnel for these teams have enough brains in their head to not do all their homework based off of what people say on these shows. The bottom line is it's very easy to sway momentum and opinions one way or another. Blue checks or not, social media perception does put the pressure on a lot of these organizations, whether we like it or not. Right. Here's what Brady Quinn, Kev, had to say about CJ Stroud. And by the way, there's a lot of weird stuff that he says in this. It's not even about the CJ Stroud thing. It's about the royal family of football. A very uncomfortable comment. Have you had a chance to listen to this?
I heard it once.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, here it is for those who don't know what we're talking about.
And then there's some other stuff about interviews. And maybe, for example, the Manning Passing Academy, I've been told that, he committed to it the night before, just kind of ghosted him, didn't show up. That's football royalty. And when you do that, that's going to kind of set off some alarms for people of like, hey, man, that's not how you conduct yourself, especially around the Manning family or just in general if you're going to be a franchise quarterback. So
let me say this. I love Peyton Manning. If I'm Peyton Manning, I cringe hearing this. We're not the royal family. We're not the first family. Football doesn't have a royal family. And if it was, I don't know if it's the Mannings. I mean, Mannings are a historic family when you write the story on the National Football League, you can't do it without the Mannings, but stop acting as if he's the level of the Pope where you got to kiss the ring when he walks into the room. I think this is of all, I don't know. I don't like the fact that we only saw one game of him showing the ability to make plays with his legs. What is it about? Why did it take him being criticized to finally break out and do this? Imagine how many big games they could have won if he would have broke this out sooner. If you want to have those types of conversations, fine. It's football related. But because he didn't kiss the ring of the royal family, Peyton Manning and company. That's why he's dropping in the draft. Kev, that is the Cleveland Browns gave fully guaranteed money to a guy with over 24 sexual assault allegations.
Right.
And teams were still lining up to take Deshaun Watson. CJ Stroud doesn't kiss the ring of Peyton Manning, and now no one wants him. Like, come on, Kev. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
So, okay, I can get behind the Mannings being football royalty. I mean, the father played in the NFL, played for the Saints. Obviously, Peyton won two Super Bowls. Eli won 2 Super Bowls. The nephew is at Texas and everything like that. So I understand what he's saying. I get what he's saying. But in the same breath, I go back to all the things that come out during draft time, because you're right. We go through the college football season. We get all super hyped for the draft. We talk about all the guys, and then they go through the combine. They go through all the other drills. They start doing the interviews, and then the next wave of the Wonderlic scores start coming out. So that's a week of storylines, and then we get basically the week before the draft, and that's when all the other stuff starts coming out. The Justin Fields stories about him having epilepsy, having seizures and things of that nature. Like, stuff just starts coming out of left field. Everything starts coming out. I mean, Michael Sam being openly gay, and it's just like, does any of this really have to do with football? Does this have anything to do with what happens between the lines of the game? I'm not sure it does. And I don't necessarily knock Brady Quinn for reporting what he's heard. You are correct. We in the media, especially the talking heads around the sport, do have sway, and what they say does impact not only the general population's perception of an athlete, but the people in front offices hear that too, and they see the reaction of the fan base. So it is a very delicate line that they toe when they're talking about these things. But there's been several reports that that's not true. He decided, hey, no, I'm going to go work out with my teammates instead. So to me, that shows even more leadership.
Yep.
To me, like, hey, I'm going to work with my teammates to try to lock everything down so we can go play for a national championship instead of rubbing elbows with the other quarterbacks around the country and in the Manning Passing Academy. So I have no problem with him saying, first accepting the invite and then at the last minute turning it down. I have no problem with that at all.
And this is where I would hope that if there was a thing like that, like maybe there was communication between him and Peyton Manning or whoever's running, whatever guy is running this camp. Obviously, it has the Manning name on it, but and I'm sure Manning is running it. But like, there's the the liaison between parties that's kind of setting this type of stuff up. Someone come forward and be like, yeah, I think that was blown out of proportion. He did not show up. Maybe Peyton didn't hear why he didn't show up, but he did let the camp know. We don't know these things.
Right.
The other thing that I get a kick out of is at times, and we see this in the banter back and forth, like we see it with Desmond Howard, we see it with Urban Meyer, and we see it with rivalries. And Notre Dame, Ohio State is not a propped up rivalry. It's not as up there with Michigan. I get that, but that's still a matchup that those schools, those programs, they don't share love for one another. Let's just be real. Brady Quinn has lost to Ohio State, and I'm not saying that that's why these comments come out, but at times it is. And like, I know for me, I try to say that I'm not a homer when it comes to stuff, but sometimes like you can't avoid a homeristic comment from time to time, not all the time. Go Browns, go Wright State, that type of thing. But I bring this up because I'm not saying that that's what this was, but if CJ Stroud was a Notre Dame quarterback, I don't believe Brady Quinn uses this as a talking point.
Right.
I could be wrong, but like Desmond Howard, who I think is very entertaining. I think he does a great job, but he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way at the Heisman ceremony when it came to who was that? Was it Stroud?
Yes.
Or was it Fields? It was Stroud. So like we were like, oh man, that came from the competitiveness of the rivalry and the back and forth. And sometimes it brings out the worst in you a little bit, or maybe you pick your spots wisely.
Right.
I think that sometimes, I think there's dislike for Ohio State from some of these guys on these network shows who, again, if you aren't a Buckeye, you don't like the Buckeyes, but we don't like Notre Dame, and Urban Meyer doesn't like Michigan. And you could tell Urban's very selective on how he compliments Michigan, if he does, and he does it in a backhanded way, but it's not gushing over it's a conflict for these guys at times, but sometimes you do got to be careful in these situations, because if that's not been reported, or if that's not what teams have heard, or if they hear it because they heard it from Brady Quinn,
right,
there are bad front office people out there that would let that go against CJ Stroud. It costs you money. It costs you draft, stock, all that stuff. That's just what's always interesting to me is we say there's no, you shouldn't use bias. I've always said there's no such thing as non-bias. We cannot flip a bias switch on and off. And I think sometimes that gets in the way of this too. I don't think that if that's a Notre Dame quarterback, even if he heard the same thing, I don't know if Brady Quinn positions that to the media the way he did for a Buckeye quarterback.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and listen to the whole interview because I know context matters, but that just seemed very left field. And, maybe that is part of the reason why the CJ Stroud stock is quote unquote dropping. Like, I don't understand how. I mean, we heard kind of like the same things about Justin Fields, that he wasn't a good leader at Ohio State. And just like everybody else that was with Ohio State said, where'd that come from? It took a while for him to come out of his shell. Because he transferred mid-season and all that type of stuff. He's kind of like a loner or whatever. But like by the time his junior year, he was embraced. He was loved by all his teammates, and that's a natural progression of a person. Like somebody that shows up in a city they've never been before, and you want them to be all boisterous and hey, rah rah rah, follow me. He was never going to Ohio State. It came down to Penn State and Georgia. Those are the two schools he was going to go play college football for. Ultimately went to pick Georgia, transferred to Ohio State. So this is a whole new process for him to be open and learning his teammates and learning the city and everything like that. And then you transition to his draft situation with the reports of epilepsy and the seizures and everything like that. And then like these type of things just always seem to pop up. Like when Johnny Manziel, when he didn't go to the Peyton Manning Passes Academy, there was alleged situations about drug use and alcohol use and him oversleeping. That's why they kicked him out of the passing academy and all this type of stuff. All these reports start coming out basically the week before the draft. So this does not surprise me.
Kidder and Kev here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Your thoughts, 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. 518-1410. Give us a call. Get your spot in line. Brady Quinn, fair or foul on his analysis of CJ Stroud? And do you believe that the Mannings, if you consider the royal family, that it was a mistake to not go to that camp? I think some of this is just that it's the week before the draft. We're out of fresh talking points. And look, this gave us a breath of fresh air of something draft related to talk about that hasn't been regurgitated 100 times. But 518-1410, give us a call. Or, of course, on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, which we're on right now, and ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. Andrew Robbins, Kev, he messages into the show. He says, CJ does not owe the Mannings anything. This is what I was worried about. This is why if I'm the Mannings, I come out and set this straight, because it's almost like they're the bad guys. Like, right. Oh, he disrespected us. Well, we'll make sure we'll end you. Because CJ doesn't owe the Mannings anything, and they don't know why he couldn't have gone, just looking for reasons to knock him. Adam Selzner on Facebook, Kev, says conspiracy theory. The NFL makes these stories to stay on top of sports news.
I don't think they have to. I don't think they have to make these stories. Those stories are out there. There's always something. I mean, think about it. We're talking about people that are in between the ages of 19 and 23. There's always something going on with somebody between the ages of 19 and 23. Always. And if you want to dig deep enough into somebody that age, you can find a story. You can find anything that you're looking for. You can find what they said as a 15-year-old on Twitter. You can find a pissed off ex-girlfriend. You can find it all. These are 18 to 23-year-old people. You're going to find everything you're looking for. Oh, man, he was late for a test one day. Oh, man, he didn't return a text message to Coach Saban when he was in the recruiting process. They're going to find it.
They're going to find it. And what they find, if the worst of CJ Stroud is he didn't kiss the ring of the royal NFL family, the Mannings, that's a lot better than what some of these things that come to light. Like Ron Howard says right here, dirt always comes out right before the draft. Look at, this sounds like a cool country song. He goes, look at Tunsil and the Bong. If I was a country singer, that'd be the name of my first album. Just say Tunsil and the Bong. I'm just saying. There you go. Brian Staley on Facebook, Kev, he goes, I agree with both of you. CJ Stroud made a leadership move. However, I'm an Irish fan, and like Brady Quinn, I don't like Ohio State at all. So it could be a biased statement. You brought context a little bit ago. There was a longer, he elaborated for 2-3 minutes on that. he did talk about how great a quarterback he is, the accuracy and all that stuff. I'm like, well, you could end it with that, but that's like doing the no offense. But you could say no offense, but I promise you anything you say after that is going to be offensive.
Right.
So, like, yeah, there's that. All right, Kenner and Kev, 1410 Wing AM, NBA playoffs. Dillon Brooks, he trashed LeBron. He said he's old. You don't care about LeBron. He's too old. NBA playoffs have been fun. We're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. Plus, reports out there that the Cincinnati Bengals have asked or are going to ask Joe Mixon to take a pay decrease to stay with the Bengals. Should that even happen? Should they just cut ties with him altogether? We'll talk about that coming up later on in the show as well. Hunter Green, the big extension with the Reds, what that means for the future of the Reds organization. We just found out that baseball organization is relocating. And it's a team that's been a lot of parallels between them and Cincinnati. And we'll talk about why we need to take that frown and turn it upside down just a little bit. I'm just throwing that out there. Kenner and Kev, 1410 Wing AM. We'll be right back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Our forecast has increasing clouds, 58 tonight. Rain and 68 Friday. Showers and 58 on Saturday. Rick Schmidt for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hi, this is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and best-selling author on safety and preparedness. The fact is, things are getting downright scary for everyone who's storing their wealth in the banks. We just saw the collapse of 3 major banks, and I would urge you to consider protecting your wealth ASAP. If even a tiny percentage of Americans attempt to withdraw their savings, we would see a collapse of the entire banking system, sending us into a modern-day Great Depression. Fortunately, there is a way for you to avoid this. It starts with contacting Advantage Gold. If you have an IRA or 401k, Advantage Gold can help convert those paper assets into physical gold and silver. This is the process that I recommend everybody use as a hedge against rapid inflation and to protect your retirement wealth from the banks. Take control of your financial safety today. Call 800-900-8000 to get your free gold investment kit from Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Why? Just think about it. Why is the #1 selling brand of chainsaws not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot? We can give you over 10,000 reasons. That's how many authorized local steel dealers you can find across the country. Visit one and you'll find a range of dependable gas and battery-powered tools, from trimmers to blowers. And you'll find service from experienced professionals. Real steel. Find yours at steelusa.com. Lowe's and Home Depot are trademarks of their respective companies.
The days of the week mean value at the home for fun food, sports, and spirits, Frickers. Monday, boneless freaking chicken wings. Tuesday, traditional freaking chicken wings. Wednesday, sirloin steak special. Thursday, frickin' chicken chunks. Frickers offers even more savings by offering double points on everyday values when you download and use the Frickers app. Double points on everyday value purchases. The place that saves you more money every day is the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Polking Bowling Centers are your connection for family fun or a great night out with friends. Join your friends in a fun summer league, adult, youth, mixed, and travel leagues. Polking Bowling Centers have a fun program waiting just for you. All Summer League bowlers get a VIB pass, and full Summer League bowlers get to go to the end of the league party, where you have a chance to win your share of $2,000 cash. Check a center for more details. Let the good times roll at Polking Lanes in Dayton, Polking Woodman Lanes in Kettering, and Polking Lane South in Centerville.
Need an online notary? We can help. Hi, this is Mike Foley, your Montgomery County Clerk of Courts. We can notarize your documents remotely at no charge to you. All you need is a smartphone or laptop. Visit courthouse2u.com for more info.
Add even more curb appeal to your home with a visit to Snyder Brick and Block and Snyder Hardscapes. From stone, brick, aggregates, and topsoil, Snyder is dedicated to assisting with your next home improvement project. Visit our 2 large Dayton showrooms at 2301 West Dorothy Lane and 1733 Industrial Estates Drive for expert advice. If your project needs patio building products like flagstone, pavers, and retaining walls, we've got you covered. Visit us in person or online at SnyderOnline.com. Snyder Brick and Block, where quality makes the difference.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Give your home's exterior a fresh update with new paint from Menards. Now all 11% off. Paramount Exterior Paint and Primer is designed to exceed your performance expectations. The most advanced protection you can get in true one-coat coverage. Pick up a gallon for just $48.49 after 11% off now at Menards. Good through April 23rd. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So what do you provide? Cookie cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
If you're a sports fan in the Miami Valley, make sure you subscribe to Dayton's ESPN Radio YouTube channel. Buckeyes, Browns, Bengals, local high school sports, Dayton Flyers, Wright State Raiders, and more. Search ESPN Dayton on YouTube and subscribe today.
Kenner and Cat back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Appreciate the interaction on the Justin Kenner Show Facebook page, ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. Scott Campbell, he says, let's go Reds. Good for your optimism there after that beat down. So when they, after that game one against the Rays, Kev, the Reds were +2 in run differential. Well, they're -16 right now. So things change. They change in a hurry. And that's kind of the theme of what we're talking about to open up the show today with the draft talk, is because like I'm over the draft. Kevin and I both said that, but there was just this Brady Quinn thing. Brady Quinn just getting beat down on social media for just revealing what he had heard.
Right.
I mean, and again, what's tough in the media industry is there are people who have legitimate sources, who have real credible sources, but because you don't have to give up your sources, but
right.
Sometimes you always have to. You live in a world where you have to abide by the. Well, he said his sources, and I'm not allowed to ask him who his sources are, and he doesn't have to tell us. So it does become a little dicey right now. People are paid to create content, and at times I always wondered, I'm not accusing Quinn of this, but it could be us. I mean, we could do it. You guys wouldn't know. Anyone could do it, is my point, is sometimes when the pressure is on to create content, everyone can have a source. Everyone can have an imaginary source that no matter who comes at you, legally, you don't have to reveal who your sources are. It's always the slippery slope of this time of year, is because everyone's trying to get as much of the content as possible. There's no better way to get the scoop on something than to have this imaginary source. And that's definitely not what I'm saying with this Quinn thing, but you never know with everything going on when there's so many different outlets out there. I mean, even some Joe Schmo in his mom's basement with a podcast can have a source. And if it's picked up and cut in a certain way, even goofs like us could end up taking it as a real comment and posting it on our show and using it as a soundbite, that type of stuff. So that's always, it's scary about this time of year, but we do it for content and entertainment purposes, but we forget that the base of the content and entertainment purposes is guys trying to get as many pennies as they can. And the way they do that is, yes, off their talent, but off the cleanliness of their name heading into this draft.
Yeah, and another thing is this isn't anything new. This is the par for the course when it comes to the NFL draft. So I am not denying anything that McShay reported. I'm not denying anything or discounting anything McShay reported or what Brady Quinn is alleged happened with CJ Stroud, because you know why it's backed up, because those two talked about it and Schefter talked about it. Talked about not necessarily CJ Stroud, but talked about he's not convinced that two quarterbacks are going in the top 4. So all these reports start coming out at the same time. So for me, they're reporting what they've heard. Now, we can't act like these NFL teams are so goody two-shoes that they're only reporting or letting out the proper information. We noticed with Keith Byers when he was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, these teams put out false reports and to try to get other teams not to draft you so they can get you at a better value. So at this point, we all have to chalk it up as this is part of the business, part of the NFL, and unfortunately, that's the ugly side of things.
We're going to get to the NBA playoffs coming up. I'm switching this just because it's easier to transition over to this next NFL topic, and then we can push the NFL aside. I know we sometimes challenge ourselves to see how far into the show, but we're already here. Real quick about the draft, though, too. Sometimes there's the gamesmanship of this all. Real last thing on the draft here. Buddy Ryan, when he was the coach of the Eagles, Keith Byers shares this story all the time, that when he was drafted, he didn't think there was any chance that he was going to be a Philadelphia Eagle. In fact, he visited with the Eagles, but back then there's no social media, but in the press clippings on TV, radio, he was calling Keith Byers a medical reject.
Mm-hmm.
And Keith is like, oh man, if he's calling me that, and they had that 7th, 8th pick. I mean, it was top 10 pick or whatever. I can't remember what number it was, but you have Buddy Ryan coming out and saying, I don't know, he's a medical reject. We're not going to take Keith Byers, all along while knowing we're taking Keith Byers. And it was a way to scare the teams ahead of them. But the thing is, you don't have to do that with these quarterbacks if you are a team like the Panthers or the Texans, because you're 1-2. There's no one, you don't have to scare anyone away from them because you have the power.
Right.
The other thing too, you brought up a good point the other day. The agent for CJ Stroud is the agent of Deshaun Watson. Could there be, not just like when it comes to Houston, okay, if they don't take him because they don't want to work with Deshaun's agent, but there's a lot of animosity towards Brown's ownership for giving this deal to Deshaun Watson. Is there animosity towards the agent of CJ Stroud? I would love to be fair, I need to go see who other players he represents, because it's not just CJ Stroud or not just Deshaun Watson, but you do wonder if, because the Browns are the villains and they're not respected and they don't like the Browns ownership and he's responsible for that deal, he threw a wrench in a lot of owners' plans, including the Ravens and Lamar.
Right.
You wonder how much animosity is being taken out on CJ just because of who his agent is. There's no factual stuff to back that up other than who his agent is, but you can't rule that type of stuff out. That's for sure.
Let's see. We can do a quick Google search. Deshaun Watson, Jalen Ramsey, Michael Thomas, Derwin James, Kevin Beard, Buda Baker, Kyle Pitts, CJ Horn, Michael Parsons, Justin Fields.
That's a good list.
Yeah.
So
yeah. AJ Terrell.
That shouldn't be it then. That shouldn't be it. But
T. Higgins, Michael Pittman,
I forgot
Michael
about that.
Pittman Jr., Malik Hooker, go Bucks. So yeah, he's got some names on here.
So it'll be interesting to follow the draft next week, and then we can put all this behind us and talk about the teams and the players of where they ended up and not where they could end up.
Jesse Bates.
That's it. Yeah. So
yeah, he's got some big dogs on there for sure.
What's the agent's name again?
I cannot pronounce his last name. David Malute.
That's a tough name to pronounce. Yes, but that's a lot of big names under his belt, and we don't talk about him as an agent the way we do some of the other agents, which is interesting because he's at the forefront of a lot of but the most controversial one of all is Deshaun, of course.
Right.
But those are big names that represents Justin Fields and others, T. Higgins, of course. So that'll be interesting. All right, let's get over to this Bengals topic quick, Kev, as we close the NFL portion out of the show today. But I found this interesting. We didn't get a chance to talk about it the other day, but the Cincinnati Bengals are expected to do something about running back Joe Mixon. All right. He has a $12.6 million cap number, which is currently third on the team. And you've seen his productivity decline over the last couple of years. In fact, we've seen him have major big time seasons when the team is at its worst. But then when the team is at its best, especially this past season, he regressed. He had some big moments down the stretch, but he wasn't that Joe Mixon of old. And I don't think he's old Joe Mixon. But it is interesting to me. This team talks so much. So they're trying to talk him into taking a pay decrease. And if not, they're probably going to cut him. And now they find themselves in a situation where they get moved on from, or they didn't get to keep Pirine. Pirine moved on. So they don't really have a lot of depth at the running back position outside of Mixon, but you also can't keep Mixon for the price of 2 running backs, basically, for a guy that you don't have on the field for high leverage moments. Those 3rd and shorts and those, big time goal line situations, he's not out on the field. And if that's your 3rd highest cap hit on a very talented team and you're not using him in the biggest moments of games, I don't know how you justify just keeping him at that number, which is why I think those reports are accurate, that they're working on a deal to have him take a pay cut or just outright release him. But the problem I have with all of this, Kev, is just the hypocrisy of how this is being viewed. Joe Mixon has had multiple off-field situations this offseason alone. Now, one was completely, if it's any other player, it's not a big deal, but I think it's because of his background and coming, he was accused of something right back in January in the middle of the playoffs, and then it went away. And then he had another situation with the firearm that wasn't even him. It was people around his house. But again, where there's smoke, there's fire. It's kind of hard to overlook it because of who's involved. He had nothing to do with that one. That one
he wasn't even in the state.
Yeah, so that one had nothing to do with him. But it was just weird that his name was brought up again with the firearm situation.
Well, it's his property, yeah.
And now the investigation has been reopened, not for that one, but the one from January.
The drive and the menacing situation, yeah.
So now we're back to this again. And I'm just amazed with as much as the Bengals talk about culture this and culture that, and you have a guy that had the background from college, and to be fair, has been a stand-up citizen since he's arrived in Cincinnati. This is the first noise we've heard of Joe Mixon off the field in a negative light in his entire run. So I want to be fair there. But at the same time, there's enough bullet points, and I'm not trying to be funny with that. You know what I mean? There's enough talking points, I should say, to move on from Joe Mixon. And I'm surprised that they're working so hard just to get the pay cut. I think the Bengals should do everything they can to get Bijan Robinson. I think that's how you alleviate this problem. Obviously today, Duke Tobin was asked with media about what their plan is for the first round. And of course they have a list of players. When you're that far back, you can't say this is the one player we're going to draft here and we're done with the first round. You can have anyone there because you have no idea. You can't sit there and count Bijan Robinson out and say, oh, there's no way he's going to drop to us. There's a good chance he can. The tight end Mayer from Notre Dame, there's no way in the first couple of drafts that he was going to drop to Cincinnati, but according to some mock drafts, he can. So Duke Tobin has basically said all options are open. Like they are open to a lot of these options, and it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening when it's all said and done. But this Joe Mixon situation is very strange, Kev. I say I wouldn't even work out a pay cut with him. I just do everything you can to get Bijan Robinson or any talented running back in this draft coming up. This is about T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. This isn't about big explosive runs. You need a balancing run game, but I don't think you need Joe Mixon for that. And I don't think you need to risk the outside noise that he's potentially bringing now that he wasn't before. You've come too far if you're the Bengals to let Joe Mixon's past and maybe his personality now catch up with you. I'd cut your losses while you can. I'd move on from Joe Mixon right now. I wouldn't even negotiate the pay cut, to be honest.
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. But this is one thing the Cincinnati Bengals have done as an organization dating back to the 90s and probably before that. They are super loyal. They're loyal to their players. I mean, look how loyal they are to Chad Johnson. He went through some issues and they're still loyal to him, loyal to Corey Dillon. So this doesn't surprise me at all that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to try to work something out for a player that they drafted. And this is what they do. They stay loyal to their players. So if I'm Joe Mixon, I'm doing whatever I can to restructure the deal to come back to the Cincinnati Bengals, because other teams don't operate like the Cincinnati Bengals. Other teams operate how you would prefer them to operate. Like, all right, the tread is off the tires. You got off the field issues, cut, and he'll probably never play another down in the NFL again if he's cut by the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think it's in his best interest to work out a deal with the Cincinnati Bengals, to restructure the deal and be open to being the veteran running back that is the leader of the running back room, and whoever they draft being the heir apparent, be it a Bijan Robinson, who I think is going to go to Philadelphia, by the way, very early. I think they have the 10th pick. I think they're going to draft him.
Well, you think he goes in the top 10?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be against that. I think that's smart. You have a lot of weapons already.
Absolutely. I think Bijan Robinson, they're not even going to sniff him. So I think they really probably should start shifting their focus to a Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Charbonnet out of UCLA, former Michigan running back, or maybe even the Spears kid from Tulane has real good hands and everything like that. So that's where I would go if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals. And if I was Joe Mixon, I'm trying to stay with the Bengals because nobody's going to pick you up. I mean, look at Zeke. Zeke's working out like a madman trying to find a new team, and nobody's dialing him up. So if he is cut, he's not going to sign with a team before training camp. He's going to sign with a team like in August before the season starts, or halfway through the season after somebody gets hurt. So it's in his best interest to listen to the Cincinnati Bengals and then come up with an arrangement and a new contract.
Yeah, I forgot. I mean, by the way, the Eagles taking Bijan Robinson. That reminds me of years ago, the year the Cowboys took Zeke. Everyone was making such a big deal about the Cowboys taking Zeke that year that you don't take a running back that high. But I slightly defended it because I said the Cowboys were a different type of team. Tony Romo, stop me if you've heard this one before, went out injured for that year. But he was out for that entire season. But the year before that, Kev, that was a 14-win team. Like, they were a really good team, or a 13-win team the year before that year that Zeke was drafted. And then they start the season. They had a lot of expectations. He goes out injured. And the reason they were drafting in the top 5 is because Tony Romo and others were out. But that was a team that had NFC Championship, Super Bowl expectations with Tony Romo that year. And so the fact that they were drafting that high, it was kind of one of those things where, well, they don't have a lot of holes. It's the Dallas Cowboys. They were one of the top teams in the NFC at that time. They ended up having a lot more holes after that, and that's where they got their quarterback and their running back, obviously with Dak and Zeke, and it all ended up working out just fine as far as that goes. But same thing with the Eagles here. They're a different team in the top 10. There's teams in the top 10 who are bad, that lost a lot, that have a lot of holes to fill. You shouldn't prioritize running back that high. But when you're the Eagles, coming off of a Super Bowl run that you were one play away, one penalty away from potentially knocking off the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, you don't have as many holes to fill.
Right.
And that's they let Miles Sanders go, 1,000-yard back. They don't extend running backs. They feel confident they can continue just to keep plugging that running back hole in the draft. And they could potentially do that with Bijan Robinson, which would be scary.
Yeah.
Because if you have the wide receiver from Alabama, they have Devontae Smith, and then you have obviously the other AJ Brown. Sorry, yes, the guy from the Titans. So you have AJ Brown, Smith, and you get him. I mean, look out. And then of course their tight end, they're set as far as that's concerned. The thing too about the running back value is, you're right. I forgot Zeke has not signed with anyone.
Right.
Kareem Hunt is another one. I'm bringing Kareem Hunt's name out. I'll take Zeke over Kareem Hunt any day. But Kareem Hunt is interesting because there were Bengals media guys that were coming out based on conversations with people internally that they don't want Kareem Hunt because he's not a culture fit with them because of his incident years ago. And I'm not defending that, but I just point out the hypocrisy of but it goes back to your point. It's easier to forgive guys that are the homegrown talents than it is someone from outside coming in that you don't know, and that type of thing. But that's why, I mean, who's the Chargers back that is demanding a trade right now in Eckler?
Yeah.
That's a wild situation too. Teams should be lining up to get him, but these backs have no value right now. It's wild. Eckler to the Bengals scares the hell out of me. The Bengals are about to pay a lot of money for T and Jamar and Burrow and others. They can't make him a priority or give him an extension. So I think that's why that position is, teams have said, we have to sacrifice our running backs, but we know in a passing league, we can't overpay for backs, which is why I don't think I'm that crazy for bringing up the Nick Chubb thing all the time, Browns fans, but we'll go there later.
For me, I hear the running back devalue situation. I always bring these names to the table. You mean you're not taking Adrian Peterson in the first round? You're not taking Marshall Faulk in the first round. You're not taking LaDainian Tomlinson in the first round. You're not taking Barry Sanders in the first round. You're taking all those guys in the first round, and they're all going to be dogs, just like they were dogs for whatever team drafted them. We're not talking about taking, I don't know, Clinton Portis in the first round, and Clinton Portis was a very good running back in the NFL. So, there's elite type of running backs that you can take, and I kind of see a lot of people's points about all right, let's play them and give them the ball a ton. And then once their rookie contract is over, kind of like how they're going to do with Saquon Barkley, let's give him the franchise tag. We get 5 years out of him and he goes somewhere else. So I think that's going to be the new wave of running backs. We're going to draft a very talented running back high because he's super talented. Why take a flyer on another player when this player is markedly better? We play him for a very low price. We're going to get the very best out of them for a very low price and let somebody else pay him some money. So I think that's going to be the new way of running back. So I think the running back position is going to start to not necessarily increase the value, but the young running back, you're going to start to see that running back drafted in the first and second round again, as opposed to like, all right, man, we'll just draft a running back in the 5th and 6th round and plug them in. I don't think that's ultimately going to be the case anymore.
A lot of big names available at running back. And no, I mean, Zeke is not worth the $15 million a year, but he's definitely, it's disrespectful to offer him $1 to $2 million a year too. Like that's what's wild about this situation, but that's where the market is for running backs at this point. It'll be an interesting thing to follow what the Bengals do with this Joe Mixon thing. It's been a talking point for a while, but with the NFL draft coming up next week, it's put up or shut up time for the Cincinnati Bengals and what they decide to do as far as that is concerned. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Actually, we haven't heard from this individual in a while. Let's get to, is this Dickie?
How are you?
Dickie, how are you, buddy? We almost went to break, but I wanted to make sure we caught up with you. How have you been?
Well, I had a good birthday Friday.
Oh, are you what 35, 36?
No, I turned a year older, but I got a lot of nice cards and gift cards and stuff from my friends and stuff. It was nice.
Nice. You want Kev to sing you happy birthday?
No, I went to. Hey, you want to hear a story?
You make it quick. Yes, sir.
I went to the store today, and guess what?
What?
The place went bad. I was talking to Rod. Dick, you need to come back. Everybody's left. Everybody's down. They have to get carts themselves, and we'll see. That's what advantage I had. He said no Browns fans. They miss me talking and stuff. I miss the people, but I like I said, I've played a lot of music lately. You know what I'm saying?
Well, good, because music makes a lot of people happy. Where's your next gig, Dickie?
Let me see. We play tomorrow, and then I'm going to play up in Miamisburg in about a week. We got a couple in Miamisburg. I joined the Miamisburg Dulcimers. We play down the track, and then so I go about 3-4 days a week playing.
Hey, that's awesome. But hey, Dickie, happy belated birthday. Great hearing from you. We'll talk soon. All right.
All right. Go Browns, huh?
Dickie.
Man, you're lucky. I was really hoping not that you would have done it, but
I got vocals. I can sing a little bit.
Happy birthday.
Very
Dickie.
little.
All right, folks. We'll be right back. Kenner and Kev, 1410 Wing AM.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Yes, we do have availability. Those dates for how many guests?
Andrea's Boutique Hotel is the destination to tie the knot.
Oh, you want the whole property?
She needs an assistant to catch the bookings bouquets.
249 guests, huh? Oh, and 3 dogs.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
O'Reilly Auto Parts provides more than just the right parts for your repair. Our professional parts people can also offer free check engine light diagnosis. We can scan your vehicle and provide a list of possible fixes. Find the right parts for you or recommend a great local repair shop. Don't ignore your check engine light. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Do you or any of your family members, neighbors, or friends own a property that you just want to be done with it? If so, call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you to take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. Call 614-470-2000. That's 614-470-2000.
If you have joint pain and they're telling you surgery is your best option,
Please stop what you're doing and call QC Kinetics. Hey, it's Keith Byers. The folks at QC Kinetics use the latest, most advanced regenerative treatment to bring lasting pain relief the natural way. Regenerative medicine harnesses your own body's healing agents to restore and repair damaged tissue in your knees, your hips, shoulder, and back. The precision treatments are done in the office with no drugs and no downtime. QC Kinetics has hundreds of clinics all over America and thousands of satisfied patients. If your joints are aching from arthritis or injury, look beyond steroids and surgery and discover the amazing possibility with regenerative medicine. Especially this time of the year, you need to be living life to the fullest and doing the stuff you love to do. If you can get relief and avoid going under the knife, doesn't it make sense to check it out? Call QC Kinetics now, 937-936-0325. It's a free consultation. That's 937-936-0325.
If you haven't been to Chevrolet of Troy, you have to stop in today. Selection has never been better with over 300 new and pre-owned vehicles available, in stock and ready to go. It's the best in the region. We always accept employee and supplier pricing, and we make financing easy. Customer service is our top priority because we care about you. With thousands off MSRP, a full-service, state-of-the-art dealership, and huge selection, make Chevrolet of Troy your first choice. 1375 South Market Street and online at ChevroletofTroy.com.
By now, you should know Audio Etc. has all the same sales and deals on TVs and projectors as everyone else. But did you know we also have some of the world's best hi-fi? Hi, this is Kirby from Audio Etc. And we do have some of the best home theater, high-fidelity gear on the planet. Not only do we have your favorite brands like Klipsch speakers and SVS subwoofers, but audiophile greats from Bowers & Wilkins, Kef, NAD, Marantz, Cambridge, Mark Levinson, and plenty of vinyl and tube gear. Plus exotics you only see in the magazines. Stop by today and visit Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom and see and audition the best audio and video has to offer. While you're in, check out our huge selection of pre-owned vintage gear. A great way to afford great gear otherwise out of reach, or revisit old classics. Audio Etc. Sound advice you can trust. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon in Centerville, or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
This is CJ McCollum, star of the New Orleans Pelicans and co-host of the CJ McCollum Show.
McCollum at the horn for three. Got it!
Inviting you to join Israel Gutierrez and me once a week as we discuss names and storylines in and around the NBA with the inside perspective you can only get from someone in the locker room and on the floor. Listen to great guests and players such as Brandon Ingram and Andre Iguodala, and input from a great team of ESPN Insider regulars like Brian Windhorst, Tim McMahon, and Mark Spears. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Getting to know yourself can be a lifelong process, especially since you're always growing and changing. Therapy is all about deepening that self-awareness, because sometimes you don't know what you really want until you talk things through. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online who can take you on that journey of self-discovery from wherever you are. Visit BetterHelp.com/score to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/score.
Questions about youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit organization, develops better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. Info at positivecoach.org.
The Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Hang out with College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers every Monday at noon on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
And we are back. Kenner and Kev, Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Shout out to Mr. Belmer He just said, should be there with your hats at about 4:30. We got some cool helmets coming to be dropped off here at the station. I'm pretty excited about Mr. Belmer. Does an awesome job with those. But excited to see Mr. Belmer coming up here in a bit. But yeah, got a Browns helmet, got a Bengals helmet, got a Buckeyes helmet.
There you go. Finally one that I'm happy about.
I'll see about a Steelers helmet for you.
There you go.
We get the whole AFC North, lined up behind us, and the Buckeyes, of course. So there you go. But Kenner and Kev, 1410 Wing AM. I know the story is slightly old, but it's still pulled up on my rundown from last week or earlier in the week that we never touched on. But, first of all, I'm only bringing this up in a lighthearted way because he's okay. But, the let's ride. Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson unhurt after flipping golf carts. Apparently, Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson was involved in a scary situation over the weekend while playing at a golf course in Denver. His golf cart appeared to flip over a near bunker. My thing is this, he must have been on his phone, but I've been pretty intoxicated golfing before. I've never flipped a golf cart. I've never, like me personally. So I've been at a bachelor party before and over in Pittsburgh, and this course, I don't remember what the name of the course was, but hillier than all get out, as most areas are over there. And there's one hill that I was like, man, I'm not comfortable going out. Like I really was. I was like, I don't know how this golf cart is like capable of making it up that hill, but I watched a few go up, and I you know what I mean? Like it's just like our back is
like a roller coaster.
Yep. And my buddy, he had a little bit more than me. It's a bachelor party, folks. I mean, whatever. And we go flying down this hill. But we get to the bottom, and now we're swaying back and forth. He dives out, leaves me in. I've never seen anything like it, Kev. I don't know how I didn't get hurt. As it started tipping, I jumped out and landed on my feet. But the way it fell, it wrapped all the way around me. I didn't get hit by the bar or nothing. It bounced and then bounced back up and then kept rolling. And it was like a miracle. I have no clue how it happened. Luckily, I wasn't the one driving it. But my whole point is I know how intoxicated my buddy was. I'm not saying he was, but even the most messed up of people don't drive into a dang bunker. What are you doing? If that's not just a reflection of his first season in Denver, I don't know what is, but glad he's okay. The other reason we're having fun with this story a little bit from about 3 days ago, but nonetheless.
Get out of Denver. That's what that tells me.
Yeah. Oof. And there are many other ways to get hurt in the offseason than flipping a golf cart. My goodness. All right, NBA playoffs, and the NBA playoffs continue tonight. We'll get to tonight's matchups in a moment, but last night was game 2 for a lot of these series. The Nuggets up 2-0 over the Timberwolves, Kev. Of course, the Bucks just throttled the Heat. No Giannis, right? They didn't have Giannis. It's weird. These playoff things, sometimes it's not about the talent. It's the mental, where you're at mentally with these series. I'm not surprised that the Bucks. Well, I guess I'm surprised that they won because they didn't have obviously Giannis. But it's like your goal when you don't have home court advantage. When you win game 1, you automatically take your foot off the gas for game 2. You don't intentionally do it. You don't mean to do it. You don't want to do it, but you do it. It's why it doesn't surprise me that happened with the Miami Heat. They were able to go into Milwaukee and get that game 1 win. So it doesn't surprise me that they lost maybe a little bit more because they didn't have Giannis. But it's the fact that, okay, we stole home court advantage and they don't have Giannis. We're good for tonight. So you're not mentally out there super, you know what I mean? Like you're not giving it your A game because you think, well, we already got game 1. So if we win game 2, it's just gravy. And they don't have Giannis. There was a lot of things removed from that game that kind of put Miami in a point where they weren't exactly motivated. That score is not a true reflection of what it could have been because it was a big time halftime deficit. Of course.
Yeah, I'm a little bit on the other side. Like they don't stand a chance in that series. They're the lowest scoring team, not only in the playoffs, but in the NBA. Like that first game, like they got super hot from 3-point land. They hit a ton of threes. Jimmy Butler was dogging and Giannis went out. And the Bucks have a winning record without Giannis. They still have a good team around them. I don't think Giannis needs to play the rest of the series and they'll beat the Heat. I don't care how good or how much I like Jimmy Butler. They're not going to beat the Bucks. The Bucks have a real good team, and I think it's in their best interest to rest Giannis to get that back situated before they go to the next round, because the next round could be versus the Knicks or the Cavs.
Yeah, and the thing that's interesting, too, is I forgot which analyst said it. It's driving me nuts. I can't remember who said this, but when Tyler Hero went out in that series with the Heat, they said Tyler Hero being knocked out from the Heat was a bigger deal than Giannis being knocked out from the Bucks. And everyone's like, what do you, that's a ridiculous thing to say, but that's how deep.
Yes.
The
I
Bucks
agree
are.
with him 1,000,000%. Giannis, like, this isn't the finals versus the Suns or something like that. We're like, oh man, they gonna need him versus Kevin Durant or whatever. No, man, the Heat were a bad team all season long, and your best shooter was playing good basketball. He was playing good, and he's the only player that played in both games in the play-in game that played good. He was playing great in that first half. He was on one of his hot streaks. So yeah, they need him more than they need Giannis in this series because they are way deeper. Bobby Portis, they got one of the Lopez brothers. They got a deep squad. They got Drew Holiday. They'll be perfectly fine.
Another, as far as a player being out to missing time, but the knee, of course, of Kawhi Leonard.
Goodness gracious.
Big deal. Out tonight. But when you talk about sprained kneecap, that's not out tonight. With the injury history of Kawhi Leonard, I mean, I think, have we seen the last of Kawhi Leonard this postseason?
Probably. I mean, like, this is what happens, man. And this is why he's a poster child for people that preach load management, because there's no telling when that knee is going to flare up and just sprain or just do whatever it does, because this is the time of year where not only they need him the most, this is when he plays his best basketball. And what really sucks for the Clippers now is he's out, as well as Paul George. And none of these are like, oh man, he's soft, he's not playing. It's legit. We saw what happened to Paul George. We saw his ankle touch the ground. Like, that shouldn't happen. And now we all know how banged up Kawhi's knee is, and now it's hurt again. So I guess I'm going to bed probably around 10:30 tonight because I won't be watching that game.
Why is Kawhi protected more than Anthony Davis? I know Anthony Davis doesn't have like a degenerative issue and all that stuff, but I mean, injured is injured. Availability is availability. And Kawhi, this situation almost is counterproductive to the load management argument, because load management for what? You're just prolonging him getting hurt into the play. So it's like, you know, I remember he played like 40 minutes or whatever it was in that first game or whatever it was. And they said this, Tyronn Lue in the post game had said, this is what we had been building up for. It was the most minutes he had played in the game. Or maybe it was, he played back to back. I can't remember what it was.
It was a back-to-back earlier, like in April, to basically lock them up for the 6th seed or 5th seed, whatever seed they end up getting in the West. And then in that first game, he played like 42 minutes and was out there being the Kawhi that we all are dying to see.
It was fun seeing him literally one-on-one against KD, getting a steal and a dunk at the other end. I mean, just going back and forth. But like when he said, he goes, this is why the load management thing for him, this was the plan from the beginning to get to where we can get him to this point to playing these minutes. But that's alarming because load management's not helping Kawhi Leonard. It's just, we know, like, this isn't a matter of whether he's good or not. We know who he is.
Right.
But we know who he is. And that's the unfortunate part. And this is why, like, when teams don't want to pay players, they have the right to be very, very hesitant. But then, like, they're the bad guys if they don't want to pay them. But then this is why the players have every right in the world to get every dime that I could take advantage of in this window, because he's not going to have another window to get a big contract after this. So it's like, I get both sides.
Yeah, and basketball is a little different. Like, they normally, like, the teams don't mind paying the superstars. They expect to pay the superstars. I think the biggest difference between Kawhi and Anthony Davis is it's always the knee with Kawhi. We know the knee is bad. We know it's going to go out eventually at some point. He's tore the ACL and the other knee. So we know this. Like with Anthony Davis, they did the whole little graphic on TNT and said the elbow, the finger, the eye, the back, the knee, the foot. Is like that game doctor. He's like, it's always something. And it's not always the same thing. And nobody's wishing like, oh man, we would hope you have a bad knee that's always messed up. It's just kind of one of those things.
It was good. It was an operation.
Yeah.
He looks like that game. I literally, damn it, Kev, I had it all queued up. I was ready to go. I was all ready to say, yeah, he looks like the game of Operation. But yes, exactly. But he's remained healthy so far. And the Lakers dropped that game 2 last night. But again, their job was, they should win this series. But the job to take home court advantage away from Memphis, they did that. But it's weird watching teams like the Bucks get a win without their best player. The Memphis getting a win without their, actually, it's not that weird. Memphis have a significant record above 500 without their dude in Jaws, which is very interesting nonetheless. But Kinner and Cav, 1410 Wing AM.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's time for the NBA playoffs, and you can get in on the action right from first tip with FanDuel. Right now, all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every weekend when you bet the NBA playoffs. That's right. Just place a 3+ leg same-game parlay or same-game parlay plus on any NBA playoff game, and you'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. That's what makes FanDuel so great. Awesome promotions for new and existing customers alike. Whether it's Major League Baseball or the NBA playoffs, there are plenty of great promotions every day. There is no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/Kinner and get a no-sweat same-game parlay every weekend of the NBA playoffs. That's FanDuel.com/Kinner. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 and older and present in Ohio. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
When getting the job done right is job one, you need construction equipment that's built right. From compact track loaders to the world's #1 selling compact excavator, the Kubota construction lineup features durable Kubota engines, more comfort, and the versatility to do it all and do it right. Visit your local Kubota dealer today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Stop by Columbus Equipment in Columbus, Dayton, or Toledo to see their full line of Kubota construction equipment, or check them out online at ColumbusEquipment.com.
Hi, hon. Want to tag along to the grocery store with me?
Sure, but I just filled up the car with gas, and with those prices, we gotta be careful with groceries.
It's crazy. All the basic staples have gotten so expensive. But good news. Tina told me about this great app called Upside that pays you back big time just for using it. She said with the Upside app, she earned serious cash back on groceries and gas.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that we can actually get paid back real cash when we use the Upside app to buy gas and groceries?
Yep. Tina said they made around $200 already.
Wow, finally something that pays us back money instead of costing us more. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas and groceries. Cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code GAS16 to save an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. Remember, use code GAS16 to save an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Summit Racing has parts and accessories to keep your truck rolling right. From custom grills to tonneau covers, Summit Racing has you covered. SummitRacing.com. Everything you need for anything you drive.
ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel is where you can watch Dayton's only local sports talk show. Hang out with Kinner and Kev weekdays at 3 p.m. on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Kinner and Kev, 1410 Wing AM. We got plenty of Red stuff coming up here just around the corner. The big news this week, the Cincinnati Reds and Hunter Green agreed to a 6-year contract extension through 2028 with a club option for 2029. So that was a tough news day for those out there who say the Reds were just going to trade him. So there's that. But here's how the contract breaks out, Kev. $2 million signing bonus.
I'll take that.
He'll make $1 million this season.
I'll take that.
$3 million next year.
I'll take that.
This dude ain't broke. $6 million and 25, $8 million and 26, 15 and 27, 16 and 20. This is broken down like my new contract I just signed. Very similar, eerie numbers.
Couldn't wait to sign that, huh?
Just kidding. I make way more. No, but no. So I'm going to talk about this here in a little bit, but I think that this was smart of the Reds because they like before he's had that breakout year, Kev, it was smart to get ahead of this, get this deal done. Because as I've said, I'm looking at ace pitchers make about $40 million a year. If Hunter Green ends up developing into that ace level pitcher, now you got an ace level pitcher for anywhere between in the high end, 15 to 21 million a year. And then if he ends up just being a very solid, good pitcher, you're paying a solid, good pitcher 15 to 20 million a year, which still is market value. So I think this is a win-win. Everyone out there, well, what if he gets hurt? That's a lazy argument because that's what you could say about anybody. Now, if he had a injury history like that of a Kawhi Leonard that we just got done talking about stuff, okay, I get that. But I don't think that's what this situation is. Good for the Reds. There's a lot of guys, Ellie De La Cruz making his debut tonight for AAA Louisville. I don't expect he'll be playing in Louisville long. I'm hoping to see him with the Reds be called up very soon. But the future is bright for the Reds, and it starts here. And the best part about it all is when he and his agent, and we're going to talk about this coming up more in detail, him and his agent said the only reason they did this is because they believed in the plan that was laid out for them by the Reds. That's good to know that the Reds have a plan and that it's already being, orchestrated, of course, with this signing and this extension to Hunter Green. I'm excited to see who's next. They got a lot of talent offensively and pitching prospects. The Reds have a good future ahead of them, but everyone wants to live in the now, and they're not winning now, so who cares? But I see the big picture move here, Kev, so it's pretty cool.
What's their record? 7-11. Still hanging around there. Like we said before, just play 500 baseball. Play somewhere around 500 baseball. Get us to the football season.
Get us to get at least May. Give me to May, but June would be sweet. Like, go Reds, go.
Get me to list season.
Yes, list season it is. All right, last night was game 2, Kev, between the Lakers and Memphis. And I want to say, look, the Lakers should have taken – if Ja Morant plays last night and they win, I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that. Like, the tempo and flow and momentum of these 7-game series, especially in games where the team that doesn't have home court advantage steals it and they do it in game 1, they usually take their foot off the gas in game 3. Teams that usually go up, for instance, 2-1, the reason most of those games usually get tied up is because they're not playing with that same urgency in game 4 because, you know what I mean? Like they're fine either way. It's the team that doesn't want to go down 3-1. Teams that are up 3-2, a lot of times that series always ended up going 7 at times when it gets to that point is a lot of times the team that's up 3-2 is playing with more house money than the team that's down 3-2 trying to hold off elimination. It's funny watching the mental ebbs and flows of these series. It's not just as simple as, oh, well, they're the better team.
Right.
I don't think that, the fact that the Bucks won without Giannis, the Heat have a lot of deficiencies, especially at the offensive end. That the Bucks played with more urgency even without Giannis because they were down 0-1. And I think that's what you see in these types of series. The Grizzlies punched the Lakers in the mouth last night, and the Grizzlies did not do much talking. Apparently there was an anonymous player that had come out. I hate these types of quotes, but whatever, sports talk, it's a talking point, saying that they talk a lot when they're winning, but they disappear when they lose. There was no talking after they lost to the Lakers in game 1. But they get a win last night, and Dillon Brooks up to his old tricks again. Here's Dillon Brooks on the little incident that he had with LeBron James late in game 2. Here's Dillon Brooks.
And then there's some other stuff about interviews. And maybe, for example, the Manning Passing Academy, I've been told that, he committed to
maybe you shouldn't do that with one of the better players in the game. Well, I guess what were you thinking?
I don't care. He's old.
One more time.
You and LeBron have that exchange. There are people out there that say maybe you shouldn't do that with one of the better players in the game. Well, I guess what were you thinking?
I don't care. He's old.
Dillon Brooks says, I don't care. He's old. Well, that old man dropped 28 points, pulled down 12 rebounds, had about 3-4 assists, had a couple blocks. That dude was all over. All right, that old dude still doing his. In fact, he's one of the few that actually showed up for the Lakers. Again, Hachimura, whatever his name is, he dropped 20. But outside of that, no D'Lo, Anthony Davis, 13 points, 9 rebounds. But you're supposed to be the guy, so that's not a good enough stat line right there. I don't mind it. I love this. I like players like Dillon Brooks. They irritate me because I'm like, you're full of crap, but okay, more power to you. You have the cojones to go at these type of guys, but that's why he's on Memphis. Memphis needs a guy like that. Like, you need the Dennis Rodmans, you need the Draymond Greens, you need the Dillon Brooks, you need the Ron Artest, you need the Rodmans, you need those guys. Those are the glue guys. Those are the guys that are going to be your muscle down low. I don't know. I guess LeBron had that kind of with Dwight when they won that first championship with the Lakers, the only championship with the Lakers in his time there. I like it. Makes these series because I think the series is going to be unwatchable because I think the Lakers win this in the next couple of games. But I'm definitely going to be locked into game 3 now in LA. Dillon Brooks poking the bear. I have no problem with it. It actually makes this even more fun to watch for me.
This is on brand. This is on his brand. This is the brand he developed for himself and back at Oregon. This is what got him drafted in the second round. And not a lot of second rounders make it in the NBA. Not only make it in the NBA, he's a starter on a very good team in the NBA. He had a good game last night. And I mean, you're 100% correct. Not every player in the NBA is a superstar. Breaking news. Not everybody is, LeBron James. not everybody is a bench player that never gets into the game. Most players are like these type of players that are, average to above average players that are quote unquote role players. And if you find your niche in the NBA, if your niche is playing defense and being antagonizing, guess what? You can play in this league for a very long time. I mean, you talked about Ron Artest. Think about Patrick Beverley. That's like his niche in the NBA. You can talk about Lance Stevenson. He played in the NBA for quite a long time. J.R. Smith, he wavered back and forth from being that type of irritant guy to a 3-and-D type of guy. So this is what it is. And I'm here for 100%. People can talk about Draymond Green and him stomping on somebody saying that's good for the NBA or not. This is 100% good for the NBA because he hasn't done anything physical to LeBron James. He hasn't thrown an elbow at him like Ron Artest did to James Harden back in the day. He hasn't stomped on LeBron James while he's done. He's woofing. He's talking. They're talking trash. They're talking trash back and forth. And I mean, the one part about it that wasn't in that clip outside of him calling LeBron old, which we all know, is he said he's going to have to drop 40 for me to respect him. And guess what LeBron's probably going to do?
But if he drops 40, that's not a good thing for the Lakers. Remember when? So the other day,
it's going to be excellent for the Lakers because they're going to win.
And they should. But a lot of times, if LeBron's scoring 40, it's because he's overcompensating for guys around him not do it kind of like last night a little bit. But he did drop 28. Could have dropped more. Probably would have been better for the Lakers. But this is why I didn't feel as good about that Laker game. It was still a great win. You need wins or wins, right? But is why I felt better about the Knicks win, and I felt good for the Knicks. I'm not a Knicks fan.
I felt good
Cavs
about that
fan.
Cavs win the other night. I'll tell you that.
I was more impressed by the Knicks game 1 win over the Cavs than I was the Lakers game 1 win over Memphis because the Knicks played a good quality game. Their stars were stars. Their role players played good quality minutes, and they produced, the way they have during the regular season. The Lakers, you had Hachimura and guys like that and Reeves, and they had career nights, and they don't have career nights. That's why it's a career night because it doesn't have it. Shocked everybody. It was a talking point. And I'm like, man, if they have to, it took them having 2 different role players with career nights before the Lakers pulled away late and Ja going out. That's why I didn't feel like that was a fun win for the Lakers, but I'm like, but that's not who they are. So for them to replicate that again and get that same win another time, I didn't feel comfortable about that. The Knicks, on the other hand, although they got beat down in game 2 by the Cavs, that's their game plan, and they executed it in game 2. It's just the Cavs, they just didn't make the same mistakes they did in game 1. So there's that. But this series, I think it'll be I think the Lakers still come out on top, but I think it's gonna be closer because, by the way, the Lakers, they're on point. They've did this since they made this trade. Hachimura and the other guys that added, we've seen nights where they look like Western Conference contenders, and then they have nights where they remind you why they were in the play-in tournament. So that's going to be the reality of this team. They're going to be inconsistent. They haven't been consistent all year. They haven't been consistent since they got this group. They've been more impressive since they got this younger group, but they haven't been consistent. So I don't think this is going to be a quick series. I could still see 6-7 games when it's all said and done. I still think the Lakers come out on top, though. They do have home court advantage, so they have that going for them.
Lakers in 5.
You still think it's
yeah?
What's Ja's prognosis? If you know?
I don't know, man. Like he already had the bandage on his hand. He had like a bruised palm or something like that, and then he tried to dunk on Anthony Davis from the free throw line. Would have been a very nice dunk if he'd have made it, though. By the way, came down hard on that hand when everybody's talking about we should outlaw the charge. And he banged up the hand even more, so he's doubtful for the rest of the series. Last I heard.
Brad Shell agrees with you on Facebook, Kev.
Of course he does.
He says Lakers in 5 for sure. He said Dillon Brooks needs some type of attention since that horrendous flop is all he will forever be known for. So there's that. But he also said Dillon Brooks is a bum. By the way, Dillon Brooks, all the reaction he's got, like that stuff doesn't bother him. The criticism of Draymond Green, that feels guys like they're wired different.
Right.
If I was actually good at sports, I think I'd be wired like these dudes. Like I don't care if you guys can't tell the history of the show. The worse things you say about me, the more it gets me going. Like they're wired different. Draymond knows how to. I mean, I shouldn't say he knows how to handle it. He doesn't handle it well, but he doesn't. That his weakness is that, but his weakness is his strength. Like you don't want to limit that because that's
right.
what, like Dillon Brooks, that obnoxious confidence that he has. That's what makes him great.
Right.
Or great at his role. Not
right.
great, but you know what I mean. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's classic. You know, those are the type of guys you want on your team, hate to play against. It's as simple as that, man. These type of players are going to be in the NBA until there is no more NBA. And they're needed. They're needed. Everybody can't be, the cool guy. Like, I mean, not everybody can be Steph Curry. Steph Curry needs somebody like Draymond on his team because you don't need Steph Curry doing those type of things. You don't need Steph Curry doing the dirty work. And that's what made Michael Jordan and that made LeBron, especially during his first run with the Cavs, so unique. Not only was he doing all the cool things, scoring the ball and rebounding and all the other stuff, he was willing to do the dirty work as well. Well, LeBron's reached a point in his career where the dirty work is for those other guys. I'm going to do me over here. And rightfully so.
Kenner and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll talk Reds next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Our forecast has increasing clouds, 58 tonight. Rain and 68 Friday. Showers and 58 on Saturday. Rick Schreck for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hi, this is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and best-selling author on safety and preparedness. The fact is, things are getting downright scary for everyone who's storing their wealth in the banks. We just saw the collapse of 3 major banks, and I would urge you to consider protecting your wealth ASAP. If even a tiny percentage of Americans attempt to withdraw their savings, we would see a collapse of the entire banking system, sending us into a modern-day Great Depression. Fortunately, there is a way for you to avoid this. It starts with contacting Advantage Gold. If you have an IRA or 401k, Advantage Gold can help convert those paper assets into physical gold and silver. This is the process that I recommend everybody use as a hedge against rapid inflation and to protect your retirement wealth from the banks. Take control of your financial safety today. Call 800-900-8000 to get your free gold investment kit from Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's Greenhouse is ready.